Welcome to Volume 5 in our series of archive films on the railways of Lancashire and Yorkshire. This volume covers West Lancashire, over the line of the Liverpool and Manchester Railway, where at Rain Hill the famous trials were held in 1829, north to Southport, and the Lancashire and Yorkshire route to Preston. The line from Liverpool to Preston via Ormskirk saw steam to the end in 1968, and the Lancashire coalfield at Warrington could still find ex-North Staffordshire tanks working in the 1960s. We begin at Manchester Victoria, as 45382 comes to a stand on the through roads. The fireman uses the line-side telephone to comply with Rule 55, and then the train departs for Red Bank sidings. .44735 of Newton Heath runs under Cheetham Road Bridge eastward en route to its shed. At the west end of Victoria was Exchange Station. 45156 Ayrshire Yeomanry is acting as pilot here in May 1968, when allocated to Patricroft. A Swindon-built Trans-Pennine DMU arrives on a Liverpool to Leeds service. The now preserved 45305 comes off its train at Victoria, something important being returned to the cab. The station saw the end of steam in August 1968, and many specials called here. The black fives used were a little cleaner than usual. On the 11th of August 1968, BR ran its famous 15 Guinea Special, the first leg from Liverpool in the hands of 45110. The Special was handed over to Britannia Pacific 70,013 Oliver Cromwell for the northbound run to Carlisle. The Lancashire and Yorkshire's line from Manchester to Bolton passed through Clifton Junction. On the 26th of November 1966, Stanier Tank 42644 approaches and takes the line to Bury Bolton Street. Approaching the junction from Bolton is 48773 on a rail tour to Manchester in 1968. North towards Bolton was Kearsley, opened in 1838 as Ringley by the Manchester and Bolton Railway. On the 4th of August 1968, two Black 5s head for Manchester to work a farewell to steam rail tour. A little later, the same day, 45156 storms the 1 in 200 gradient through the station towards Farnworth Tunnel. The Liverpool and Manchester's route, west of Exchange, passed through Salford. 45156 again, but 2 months before heads tender first on a transfer freight from Patricroft. On the same stretch of line in 1980, the 4 tracks have been reduced to 2. The former Liverpool and Manchester locomotive Lion is heading for Manchester-Liverpool Road, commemorating the 150th anniversary of the route. Lion had journeyed from Eccles, where 46229 Duchess of Hamilton had brought a connecting train from Liverpool. Lion was built by Todd, Kitson and Laird of Leeds in 1838 for the Liverpool and Manchester. She survived as a stationary engine with the Mersey Docks and Harbour Board until 1920. The LMS restored her for the 1930 celebrations. Another restoration allowed her to run in 1980. However, Eccles Station was different 12 years before, when 44888 passes on a rail tour between Manchester and Southport. The houses above the train on the north side of the station were eventually demolished on the construction of the M602 motorway. There were many light engine movements from Patricroft Shed. The standard Class 5 is 73050, destined for preservation at Peterborough for the Nene Valley Railway. This is 44777. The next station west was Patricroft. A Black 5 heads for Manchester on a parcels working. Just east of the station can be seen Patricroft Shed. 45321 of Wigan Springs branch gets underway with a Class 8 freight in the summer of 1968. The shed had 2 buildings in an L shape. The LMS modernised the depot in the 1930s. 45268 arrives under the footbridge, giving access to the depot. A view from the depot end of the bridge shows the LNWR Patricroft Station signal box behind the Black 5. 48033 was a Patricroft engine at the end. She was probably the oldest of her class by then, built at Bolton Foundry in 1936. .48532 carries a number 6 nose snowplough off the shed, a relic of its last winter at Buxton Shed. Now it was allocated to Bolton. Another latecomer to Patricroft was Ayrshire Yeomanry, given some dignity by its replica nameplates. .48775 returned to BR in 1957 from overseas and WD service. This previous WD service had endowed this 8F with a non-standard top feed. This was the loco that should have carried the cabside stripe, prohibiting use under the wire south of Crewe, and not 48773 last seen at Clifton Junction, which actually did. The Liverpool and Manchester Railway passed through the South Lancashire coalfield, notably the Warrington system. In August 1964, Hunslet saddle tank Wasp is seen at Moseley Common. She was fitted with a Hunslet gas producer system of firing to lessen smoke emissions, note the chimney cowl, and a steam and air jet on the side of the firebox. Next along, heading for the washeries, is sister locomotive Warrior, built in 1954. In 1964 she still carried the NCB black livery, lined out in yellow. She is passing ex-North Staff's L-Class No. 2, which had been restored to Madder Lake livery at Crewe in 1960. Moseley Common Colliery, extensively modernised, had opened in 1868. 100 years later, this showpiece colliery would close. Warrior again. Since last seen at Moseley Common, she has been fitted with a Giesel ejector and outshot in the later red livery. The train is banked by similarly fitted Repulse, built in 1950, and nowadays working on the Lakeside and Haverthwaite Railway. In the late 1930s, the system was already under the control of the Manchester Collieries Company. Coal demand was growing, and new locomotives were required. 5 ex-North Staff's 062 tanks were purchased from the LMS. This is Sir Robert, ex-LMS 2262, built in 1929 at Stoke. Before the arrival of the North Staff's locos, the Mainline locomotives were 2 060s bought in 1924, brand new from Hunslets. Surviving until 1968 was Bridgewater, unusual in industrial service, being fitted with outside Valshart's valve gear. Driven by 18-inch cylinders, they were powerful machines. The safety valve and whistle are mounted on the steam dome. Finally, Warrior and Respite work a heavy coal train. Some austerity tanks were fitted with extended coal bunkers. The coalfield was served by the L&Y on the northern side. Hindley North on the line to Wigan sees 45290 on a stopping train. $70,013 Oliver Cromwell passes Hindley No. 2 box under a gantry of signals. This junction gave access to the Wigan avoiding line to Standish Junction on the West Coast Main Line. At Wigan Wargate on the 13th of August 1966, in pouring rain, Stanier Mogul 42968 passed eastbound with a brakeman special. Withdrawn in the December, she survived into preservation via Woodhams of Barry onto the Severn Valley Railway. Arriving under the West Coast Main Line is 42611 on a stopper from Liverpool Exchange. A 9F on the West Coast Main Line drops down into Wigan North Western Station. This was opened by the Northern Union in 1838, 10 years before the L&Y's Wargate Station. 44727 of Carlisle Kingmore departs on a semi-fast to Crewe. Five miles north of Wigan is Goulburn. 70,013 Oliver Cromwell on a rail tour passes the site of the station, which had closed in 1961. Further south on the West Coast Main Line was Winnick. A 9F heads north with 36 covered vans. The Vulcan Foundry premises are on the horizon at Newton le Willows. An 8F with an equally long train of bricks. A Black 5 southbound with coal empties. .48545 heads a Northwich to Corkickle Cough Hops train by the St Helens Canal on the 21st of January 1967. She was withdrawn from Northwich a few weeks later. The canal reaches the Manchester Ship Canal south of Warrington. Ivet Class 2 46520 takes the Earlestown line from Winwick with a rail tour on the 18th of February 1967. It started at Warrington with 4 coaches, but derailed the last PSK in Dalham Shed Yards. More of this tour later. Approaching Earlestown on the Manchester to Liverpool main line is 48033 on the Two Cities Limited tour of the 23rd of June 1968. Arrival at Earlestown was 38 minutes late, due in part to signal failures, and an engine with only 4-foot 8.5-inch wheels trying to keep to a schedule not designed for it. .48033 came off here, being replaced by 73069. Another rail tour of a different nature took place at Earlestown on the 24th of June 1967. 76077 pulls into platform 3 with a brake van train to Widnes. Passing through platform 2 is a coal train for Liverpool. On the 21st of July 1968, 44888 passes Earlestown on another special over the Liverpool and Manchester Railway. Just west of Earlestown was Sankey Viaduct. The viaduct was necessary to span the valley of the Sankey Brook. This 9-arch brick and stone facing structure was 60 feet high to clear vessels on the Sankey Brook Navigation Canal Company. It cost $45,200 in 1829 to construct. Near Bold Colliery, heading for St Helens Junction is 46520 on the tour seen earlier at Winwick, still with just 3 coaches. St Helens had much industry, famous for its glass. Pilkington Brothers brought in sand for their sheet glassworks. 76079, later to be preserved, is present in December 1966. .47289 was a recent transfer to Sutton Oak and is shunting. In 1967 she was transferred to Westhouse's shed near Chesterfield and worked on hire to William Thorpe Colliery of the National Coal Board before withdrawal in the October. .92056 passes on a freight. Passing Sutton Oak Shed and en route to Widnes and Speke Junction is 46520 again. Returning to 76077 and its brakeman special, it is negotiating the complex network of Widnes. A stop is made at Widnes number 4 box, where the St Helens line to the north crosses the Ditton junction to Warrington line. In 1870 the LNWR opened a deviation line a little to the north, avoiding the crossing. To the west of Widnes is Ditton junction, where the main line from Crewe in the south, via Runcorn, joins the Warrington to Liverpool line. This was also visited by the Brakeman Tour. Scenes from the early 1960s show steam and the newly opened electric services together passing through Ditton Junction. There was a steam push-pull service to Ditton Junction from Manchester-Oxford Road in 1962. We joined the train at Manchester and journey past Timperley Junction and Broadheath, where a view in the driving compartment of ex-LNWR Brake 2nd M24449 shows some of the controls operated by the driver and the bell code notice for communicating with the fireman on the footplate of Ibot Class 2 tag 41286. Continuing west through Lymm and Latchford, we arrive at Warrington Bank Quay low level. The push-pull service continued via Widnes to Ditton Junction, and here 41286 would return to Manchester. In February 1966, the LCGB Northwest branch ran a rail tour with the last remaining push-pull set, which were due for imminent scrapping. 41286 did the honours over its old stamping ground. The Ditton Junction to Liverpool Lime Street main line continued past Speke Junction Shed, situated in a triangle of lines. On the Garston Docks route, rounding the curve from Dock Junction on the west side of the triangle, is an ATEF, as 45034 backs off the shed. The depot was a 12-road straight shed.